So Matt, obviously one of the most keenly debated, exciting days of the year. Could you just explain why the players have been chosen?
Yeah, as you say, it's always one that provokes plenty of debate. I think this year it was especially heavy on people's minds because there were so many candidates. Some years we find it relatively easy to pick the players, whether it's 8, 10, 9, whatever number we've had in the past. But I think this year there were so many players who felt they had a case. But in the same vein, there were perhaps a lot of players who had half a case and not a full case. So ultimately we sit down as a board, we look at every single contender, we look at every single option, we analyse their performances and their results over the previous 12 months, and then we make a decision. And we know we're never going to please everybody.
As you say, a lot of winners of TV events and European tours play championships. A lot of players will be disappointed this morning, but it's not a closed door, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, look, we've seen in the past. In the past, maybe we've been guilty of putting players in when they've not quite been ready, and their careers have taken a negative step. You know, I don't need to name those players, but one I will say actually was Michael Smith. The first year he was in the Premier League, it all went very badly wrong for him, and it took him a couple of years to recover. And look where he is now. So we have to make sure that the time is right for people to be named in the Premier League. It brings with it its own challenges. 17 weeks, or certainly 16 weeks of travel, flights, hotels, intensity, media scrutiny, playing in front of crowds of 10,000. You know, it's not easy, that, and it's something that a player has to have the right mentality for. So we don't want to overexpose somebody before they're perhaps ready for it. And maybe we'll be proven wrong, maybe we'll be proven right, but we have to make a judgment call based on our honesty and our opinions. And you know, for the lads who've been left out, you know, go out there and prove us wrong.
And once again, the Masters champion is included in the field. A lot of debate all weekend in Milton Keynes about who would be in it, who won't be in it.
Yeah.
Is the announcement time something we're looking at for next year?
Yeah, I mean, look, if you consider the first year we did the post-Masters announcement was during COVID. Johnny Clayton was the beneficiary. And then there was a good 8-week period, I think it was, before the Premier League actually started because of the COVID situation, and all the events were then played in quick succession in Milton Keynes. We carried that on into last year, and it was slightly challenging. It's a quick turnaround. You know, there's a lot of organisation, a lot of logistics, a lot of filming, a lot of content has to be created around the Premier League, a lot of travel arrangements and things like that have to be made. And to turn that all around within a 3-day period, I mean, essentially the players will be travelling to Belfast on Tuesday night. Well, really, that's 36 hours after the lineup was announced. So although 4 guys knew they were in, 4 didn't. And it's arguable whether that's still the right way to do it. You know, in the past we've announced it after the World Championship, and then you can look back on the year as a whole. And that's something we'll have to give consideration to going forward, whether we go back to doing it after the World Championship. It may be that that's cleaner, it may be that that gives everybody more time to plan, more time to prepare, and perhaps takes away some of the controversy. Although it's good to give the Masters that extra little bit of prestige by saying the winner gets in the Premier League, does it overshadow the Masters as an event in its own right? So, you know, that's something we'll be thinking about for next year.
So this year we did maintain that decision to announce post-Masters. Chris Dobey getting in as last-minute call. A word on the people who were in and a few of the guys who missed out. Yeah,
I mean, Chris was, you know, probably with respect to him, somebody who wasn't towards the top of the list beforehand. Although he has had an excellent second half of the year. You know, he'd made latter stages of TV events consistently over the last 3 or 4 months. And look, Chris is a player who's been around a long time. He's been knocking on the door of the top 16. And you know, I think in the same way that Johnny and Joe over the last 2 years got their reward for winning the Masters, he deserved that. You know, obviously there's been players who have been left out, and certainly Danny Noppert, Ross Smith, who've won TV tournaments in the last 12 months, can feel slightly aggrieved. But we want to see players consistently reaching the last stages of tournaments. As you know, as we've said, we want players to be ready to play in the intense cauldron of the Premier League. And I think the way that you can show you're ready to do that is to be consistently in the latter stages of TV tournaments, which if you look at Johnny, if you look at Nathan, if you look at Dimitri, they have been doing, you know, over the last 1, 2, 3 years. And that's shown us that they're big stage players who are ready to do it. So, you know, my message to players is, look, I appreciate if you're disappointed, you've been left out. I totally respect that, and you've got every right to have that opinion. But put us in a position where, you know, we've got no choice to make about you. You know, get to those quarterfinals, semi-finals, finals, week in or month in, month out on the big stage, and show us that you're worthy of a place amongst the likes of Michael Smith, Gerwyn Price, Peter Wright, and Michael van Gerwen, who for a few years now have been the real elite of the game. You know, there's that group of 8, 10, 12 players behind who are all aiming to get into that top 4. But those top 4 are the ones who set the standard. They're the ones who, you see them on the posters for a reason. You know, they're the ones who they're the household names. They're the ones who are taking home the big checks. But don't let them have it all their own way. You know, there's that group of guys behind them who are good enough on their day to take those trophies. Rob Cross has made 2 TV finals in the last 3 months, but Rob's also made it clear that he feels he's still on the comeback trail to where he wants to be, and he's talked about spending time with his family, talked about rebuilding his career, and now he's in a good place with himself at the moment. So I think Rob's another one who's coming back in towards that top group, and he's one who's shown he can compete at that level. Maybe we'll see in 12 months he's back up there. You know, I messaged both James Wade and Gary Anderson this morning out of courtesy to let them know they weren't going to be in it. They've both been fixtures of the Premier League in the last few years. Neither of them are expecting to be in it at all next year, but they're players who've shown that they can be in that elite group. Maybe they'll get back there as well, and maybe there's others who we're not even thinking about at the moment who can catch up to those players who are setting the trends.
And while there will be disappointment for a lot of those people you mentioned, how good is it to have such a wide field of players to choose from? Yeah,
I mean, it's a far better situation when we've had years before where it's just been so obvious and everyone's named the lineup basically halfway through the World Championship. You know, and it's great for the sport. It shows what rude health we're in, that we've got a dozen or so players who are capable of being talked about to be selected for that level. So let's hope that number keeps growing. Let's hope the standard keeps improving. And let's hope we have more difficult interviews and difficult questions to answer in the future.
And the format which was introduced last year will return this year. Were you happy with how that went?
Yeah, I mean, we do a post-event survey to the live attendees, and over 75% of people who attended gave it the highest rating in terms of excitement factor and enjoyment, because they can see a winner on the night, as opposed to just sometimes 4 or 5, not meaningless, but 4 or 5 games without any context for them. The format of the Premier League has always evolved over the years. It's never really been the same for more than 3 or 4 years in a row. And it probably won't be the same for more than 3 or 4 years in a row this time, because we like to keep it fresh. But at the moment, we think the reaction to it was strong. We like the fact that the fans in the arena stayed to the end to see the winner. We like the fact that the players had the motivation of £10,000 prize money per night to turn up for. Even if you were struggling, you still had reason to be there and try and win every night, which you didn't get if you were bottom of the league with 3 points. So yeah, we're going to give that another go. There will be a couple of amendments with just technical things to make sure that the draw is more balanced. Our tournament director has been working on that in a way to make sure that players have a more of a balanced way in which they can play each other. Previously, last year, it was a little bit one-sided. Certain players could and couldn't play each other more because of the way the draw key was done. That's very technical, and a few people will get it, and most people it will wash over their heads, but ultimately it will mean that the players have a more equal chance of playing each other week in, week out this year.
And once the dust has settled on the player announcement, there's a lot to look forward to for this Premier League season starting on Thursday in Belfast.
Yeah, I mean, Belfast is always we always get a great reception in Belfast, sold out crowd. On to Cardiff, same again. And I think it's going to be another fantastic roadshow. You know, look, love it or hate it, Premier League darts gives you entertainment, gives you excitement, gives you world-class darts. So people will tune in. If you don't want to tune in every week, that's fine, have a week off. But for the people who have got their tickets, over 125,000 people who've got their tickets, they can't wait to go. We've got 8 players who are ready to entertain. We've got broadcasters all around the world who are ready to show it. So, I think let's get it on and let's see what happens.
Can't wait. Thank you for your time, Matt.
Thanks.